welcome to the session on signals and systems. In the last class, we started the Laplace transform. We completed the introduction part over the Laplace transform. After the introduction, we completed the very important concept with respect to the Laplace transform, which is the region of convergence. So we solved the number of problems based on the region of convergence. So after this, the region of the convergence, so we started from this class onwards the properties of the Laplace transforms. The properties plays an important role in solving the problems. So in order to simplify the procedure of solving the problems, we use the properties. One should have the command over the properties. If you have the command over the properties, you can easily solve the any problem in the in fact any transformation you can solve very easily. We have the command over the properties. So in this class we are going to discuss two important properties of the Laplace transform, which is your initial value theorem and the final value theorem. These two properties are very important with respect to the Laplace transforms. So we have almost 14 properties are there. So one point you should remember here, we have almost 14 properties are there. You already know we have two types of Laplace transform. One is your bilateral Laplace transform. So another one is your unilateral Laplace transform. So these are the two types of the Laplace transform. So out of the 14 properties, except two properties which are your differentiation in time property and the integration in time property. So except these two properties, so remaining 12 properties will have same results with respect to the bilateral Laplace transform and with respect to the unilateral Laplace transform. So whereas when it comes to the differentiation in time property and the integration in time property, so these two properties have different results with respect to the bilateral Laplace transform and the unilateral Laplace transform. So you should keep in mind these points. So after this, so to understand this initial value theorem and the final value theorem, so one should understand the important property, which is the differentiation. So this property you should know before going to study the initial value theorem and the final value theorem. So this is your differentiation in time property. So differentiation in time property. So I will write down the statement. So proof is not required. So because for all the properties, so if you know the properties of the CTFT and the procedure how we are going to prove all these properties with respect to the continuous time Fourier transform, so the same properties we are going to study in the case of the Laplace transform also, and the procedure of doing the proof for each and every property is similar to the procedure we are going to do in the case of the CTFT. Therefore you should understand CTFT thoroughly, then only you can go for the Laplace transform. So therefore the proof is not required. We already provide proof of each and every property in the case of the CTFT. Therefore while studying the properties of the Laplace transform, the proof is not unnecessarily. Don't waste the time by providing the proofs for each and every statement. So whenever there is a difficulty, I will explain the proofs for the individual properties. With that, I will start the differentiation in time property. First I will write down the statement for this property. So the statement is like this: if f of t is the time domain signal, so its Fourier if its Laplace transform is capital F of S. So while defining the Laplace transform, one should write down the region of convergence. This region of convergence for f of s is, let us consider it is capital R. Then the differentiation in time property states that, so if you differentiate your signal, so f of t and its Laplace transform, so is nothing but s into f of s, and the region of convergence for this signal is also same as that of f of s. So this is the differentiation in the time property. So in general, so the if you take the nth order derivative of the first signal f of t, its Laplace transform is nothing but so s power n into f of s. So this is the in general expression. So if you take the Laplace transform of the nth order derivative of the signal f of t, so you should get s power n into f of s. And whatever I define here is defined with respect to the bilateral Laplace transform only. And when it comes to the unilateral Laplace transform, so I already told you, so in the case of differentiation in time, the bilateral Laplace transform and the unilateral Laplace transform of the derivative of your signal is gives the different results, will give the different results. Therefore, so the unilateral Laplace transform of the first order derivative of your signal or nth order derivative of your signal is like this. So d power n f of t. So this is the nth order derivative of your signal. So for this signal, if you take the Laplace transform, so and the result is like this. So s power n into f of s minus s power n minus 1 into f of 0 minus s power n minus 2 into f of 0 f dash of 0 minus and so on, and it is continuous like this. So this is the Laplace transform of the nth order derivative of the time domain signal f of t. So one should remember this expression. This is very important expression. So you should keep in your mind this expression. So if you apply the Laplace transform of the nth order derivative of f of t, so you should get the result like this: s power n into f of s minus s power n minus 1 into f of 0 minus s power n minus 2 into f dash of 0 minus and so on. The sequence continues. So this is the a result of the unilateral Laplace transform of the nth order derivative of your f of t. So whereas for the bilateral Laplace transform, so the result is like this. If I consider n equal to 1, I can get here the first order derivative of f of t, and if we apply the unilateral Laplace transform for the first order derivative of f of t, so you should get like this. So this is the first order derivative of the unilateral Laplace transform of the time domain signal f of t. You just substitute n equal to 1 in this expression so that I will get this expression. So you should keep in mind this expression, because see, our initial value theorem and final value theorem are entirely based on this equation only. We are going to derive the initial value theorem and the final value theorem based on this equation only. Now when it comes to the initial value theorem, so we are going to prove this initial value theorem. So this is your initial value theorem. So as the name itself indicates, initial value. So initial value theorem. So let us consider a signal f of t here. So let us consider, first I will write down the statement for the initial value theorem. So this is your initial value theorem. So if f of t is a time domain signal, so its Laplace transform is capital F of s, then the initial value theorem states that the initial value of the signal, that is f of 0 plus, so we are going to find out the initial value of the signal at t equal to 0 plus. So at t equal to 0 plus, so its initial value is obtained from the Laplace transform of the signal f of s. So like this, in this way we are going to calculate the initial value of the signal. So limit s tends to infinity s into f of s. So this is the statement with respect to the initial value theorem. We want to find the initial value of this signal. So that initial value of the signal can be obtained by the Laplace transform of the signal f of t. So using this expression, limit s tends to infinity s into f of s. Now I am going to prove this statement. So before going to prove this statement, so one should know two important conditions. So one should understand the two important conditions so which are required to define this statement, otherwise if the signal does not satisfy these two conditions, we cannot fulfill this statement. The statement is wrong statement if the signal is does not satisfy these conditions. The first condition is here, whatever the signal you considered here, the signal we are considering here is f of t, so it is equal to 0. So for t is less than 0, its value is equal to 0 for t is less than 0. So in that case only the statement for initial value theorem is correct. Otherwise we cannot write down this statement. So if the signal does not satisfy this condition, so it is not possible to find out the initial value of the signal from this statement. And the second statement is say the signal f of t so does not have any discontinuities at t equal to 0. So does not have any discontinuities at t equal to 0. Whatever the signal you considered here, you considered f of t is the time domain signal. So this time domain signal does not have any discontinuities at the time t equal to 0. So what is this statement? The statement is like this. So suppose f of t is like this. The signal f of t is defined like this. Its value is 1 for 0 to infinity, and its value is 0 from minus infinity to 0. So suddenly at time t equal to 0, so what happens? The signal suddenly jumps from 0 to 1. So this is your point of discontinuity. So this is your discontinuity point. So this discontinuity point. So whenever there is a discontinuity of the signal is there at time t equal to 0, for those signals we cannot find out the initial value of the signal using this formula. So that is the condition 2. So every signal for those signals we are going to find the initial value. So if you want to find the initial value of any signal, that signal must satisfy these two conditions, two conditions, otherwise we cannot find out the initial value of the signal. Now we are going to prove the statement. So this is the proof for the given statement. We already know, so the Laplace transform, so you already know the Laplace transform of the first order derivative so of the time domain signal is what? So the Laplace transform of the first order derivative of the time domain signal is s into f of s minus f of 0 minus. So this is the Laplace transform of the first order derivative of the time domain signal, which is the unilateral Laplace transform. Here I consider the unilateral Laplace transform of the first order derivative of the time domain signal. Now how can you find out this expression? So you can, if you want to find out this expression, so use this integral expansion like this. So d by dt f of t, here the signal is df of t by dt e power minus st into dt. So in this way we are going to find out the expression. So this is your input. So this is your input. So this is your output. This is entire expression is your output. How can we get the output? So using this integral operation. Here it is your input, and this term is called the integral kernel term. So using this expression we are going to find out this output. So this is your Laplace transform, which is the integral transform. Now here if we observe here, this signal we consider f of t is defined for t greater than 0 only. If its value is 0 for t less than 0. So here the signal is not defined from minus infinity to 0. Therefore I can reduce the limits of integration from minus infinity to infinity in this fashion. You just observe the limits of integration here. So how can I reduce the limits of integration? This is your signal f of t. So this is your signal f of t. This is the time axis. So on the time axis we are moving from minus infinity to 0. So while moving from minus infinity to 0, first you reached 0 minus. So here 0 minus is what? just before 0 is nothing but 0 minus. When we are moving from minus infinity, we first reach to 0 minus, not 0. So just before 0 is nothing but 0 minus. So just after 0 is nothing but 0 plus. So when we are moving from infinity to 0, we reached first 0 plus, which is just after 0, which is just after 0. So this is your time axis. This is your time axis. Your integration limits minus infinity to plus infinity. I can divide your integration limits from minus infinity to plus infinity like this. Here the integration limits are from minus infinity to plus infinity. So based on your signal f of t, because your signal f of t is only defined for t greater than 0, so it is not defined for t less than 0. So based on that, I can split the limits of integrals like this. Here minus infinity to 0 minus, like that I can split, plus integral 0 minus to 0 plus, plus integral 0 plus to infinity. So like that I can split your limits of integration from minus infinity to plus infinity in this manner. Now if you observe here, from minus infinity to 0 minus, your signal f of t during this range of the integration, your signal f of t is 0 because your signal is not defined. So that is condition number 1. Based on this condition number 1, whenever this signal satisfy this first condition, then only we are going to define the initial value of the signal. So that's why during the range of this integration from minus infinity to 0 minus, your signal f of t is equal to 0. Therefore no need to consider this limits of integration. Therefore I can rewrite this integral minus infinity to plus infinity in this manner. So first I will consider 0 minus to 0 plus. Here we have the first order differentiation of the signal f of t. So into e power minus st dt plus. So after 0 plus we have 0 plus to infinity plus infinity, and here we have the first order differentiation of the signal f of t into e power minus st dt. So like that I can split my limits of integration in this manner. Now if you observe here, so 0 minus and 0 plus both are approximately equal to 0. So if I substitute in the place of t 0, this entire expression is going to be 1. So integral d f of t by dt with respect to dt gives what? The signal f of t. So here in the left hand side we have what? So s into f of s. So you just observe here. So f of 0 minus. So that is equal to, what is your right hand side? So this 0 minus and 0 plus both are approximately equal to 0. So when I substitute t equal to 0 in this expression, so this fraction becomes 1, and the integral derivative of f of t dt becomes what? So here we have the signal f of t, and the limits of integration are from 0 minus to 0 plus. Plus here we have the remaining function, which is integral 0 plus to infinity first order derivative of f of t into e power minus st dt. Now if you clearly observe here, so this is my left hand side. So my left hand side is what? So s into f of s minus f of 0 minus, that is my left hand side. And what is my right hand side? You just substitute the upper limit and lower limit, so that I can get f of 0 plus, that is my upper limit, minus f of my lower limit is 0 minus. So this is your f of t by after substituting 0 plus and 0 minus. So next we have the integral 0 plus to infinity, the first order derivative of f of t here into e power minus st dt. Now if you observe the right hand side and left hand side expressions, here f of 0 minus is common, therefore both sides we cancel out f of 0 minus. So we have s into f of s, so that is remaining on the left hand side. On the right hand side we have f of 0 plus, plus we have integral 0 plus to infinity, and we have d by dt of, so f of t into e power minus st dt. So that is remaining on the right hand side. Now to calculate the initial value of the signal, so you just apply the limit s tends to infinity on both sides of this expression. So when I apply limit s tends to infinity on both sides of this expression, here there is no factor of s, therefore I can write the above expression in this manner. So limit, you just apply limit s tends to infinity on both sides, limit s tends to infinity s into f of s. So that is equal, here there is no factor with respect to the s, therefore no need to take the limit for this expression f of 0 plus, and here if we apply the limit s tends to infinity for this expression 0 plus 2 infinity the first order derivative of f of t into e power minus st dt. Now when s tends to infinity, e power minus st becomes what? So e power minus st becomes e power minus infinity. So what is the value of e power minus infinity? The value of e power minus infinity is 0. Therefore this entire expression is going to be 0. So whenever s is tending to infinity, therefore on right hand side remaining is what? So remaining is f of 0 plus is remaining on the right hand side. So which is your initial value of the signal. So that is equal to, so limit s tends to infinity. So here s into f of s. So this is your initial value of the signal. So the initial value of the signal can be obtained from its Laplace transform of the signal. So using this operation, limit s tends to infinity, s into f of s gives the initial value of the signal, So this is about the initial value theorem. So once again I will repeat the initial value theorem. So the initial value theorem states that if you want to find out the initial value of the signal, you just use the Laplace transform of the signal. By using this expression we can get the initial value of the signal. So if you want to find out the initial value of the signal, so your signal must satisfy two important conditions. So number one condition is the signal is defined for t greater than 0 and the signal does not have any discontinuities at time t equal to 0. If the signal is having discontinuities like this at t equal to 0, we cannot find out the initial value of those signals. So that is the meaning of this statement. So using these two conditions, now we are going to prove the initial value of the signal like this. This is the initial value of the signal obtained using the following steps, using the above steps. So you should remember the initial value theorem and its proof like this. So this is very important property, initial value theorem. So many times the question is came for your examination point of view. So this is about the initial value theorem. So when it comes to the final value theorem, so this is your final value theorem. The second theorem is the final value theorem. So this is your final value theorem. So as the name itself indicates, final value theorem is nothing but what? So if you want to find the final value of the signal, so that is the final value theorem. So first I will write down the statement with respect to the final value theorem. So what is the statement here? The statement is like this. If we want to find out the final value of the signal, so the statement is like this. First I will write down the statement. So using this statement we are going to prove the final value theorem. So this is the signal time domain signal f of t. So its Laplace transform is capital F of Cs. So using the Laplace transform of the signal f of t, so we are going to find the final value of the signal. So this is the final value of the signal f of t. So and this is nothing but, so whenever the limit t is tending to infinity, the f of t becomes what? So f of infinity. So this is the final value of the signal. So the final value of the signal can be obtained using the Laplace transform of f of t with the help of this expression. So limit s tending to 0. So s into f of s. So this is the formula we are going to use to find the final value of the signal. Similar to the initial value theorem, here also the signal f of t must satisfy the two conditions, must satisfy these two conditions. Otherwise, it is not possible to define the final value of the signal. So the first is here the signal f of t is 0 for t is less than 0. Only f of t is defined for t is greater than 0. In the signals only we are going to find the final value of the signal. So one more condition is so s into f of s. So you just remember this term s into f of s. So if we calculate the s into f of s, so for this function, if we calculate the poles, so with respect to the s into f of s, so if we calculate the poles, if these poles, if I calculate the poles, so these poles must lie. So these poles must lie on left half of the s plane only, left half of s plane. So if you take this expression s into f of s, and for this expression if you find out the poles must lie in the left half of the s plane, then only we are going to calculate the final value of the signal. So otherwise it is not possible to find the final value of the signal. Therefore, to find out the final value of the signal, that signal must satisfy these two important conditions. So if the signal fails any one of these two conditions, we cannot find out the final value of the signal. We cannot find out the final value of the signal. So when coming to the proof, how we are going to prove this statement, the final value theorem. For that you just consider the Laplace transform of your first order derivative of your signal. So which is your the Laplace transform of df of t by dt is nothing but what? So this is s into f of s minus f of 0 minus. So how can you find out this one? So we can find out this one by using the expression like this. So you just consider 0 minus to infinity. No need to consider minus infinity to plus infinity. You just directly consider from 0 minus to infinity. And here the signal is d by dt of f of t. So that is our signal. So e power minus st, that is our integral kernel into dt. Now if we observe here, so if we clearly observe here, so after this you just consider limit s is tending to 0 on both sides of this expression, so that I can get limit. So s is tending to 0. On the left hand side we have s into f of s. Here there is no factor related to s, therefore no need to consider here. You just directly consider f of 0 minus for this function. So that is equal to, so whenever, so limit s is tending to 0, here we have integral 0 minus to infinity. Here we have the first order derivative of the function. So f of t into e power minus st dt. So whenever s is tending to 0, this e power minus 0 becomes 1. So the integration of the derivative of this signal becomes what? So becomes this signal itself. So and if you substitute the limits of integration from 0 minus to infinity, so we should get what? So f of infinity minus f of 0 minus. So like that I can get. Now what is your left hand side? This is your left hand side. And what is your right hand side? This is your right hand side. Now if you observe the left hand side and right hand side, so one factor is common, that is f of 0 minus. So you just cancel out these two factors on both sides, so that remaining thing is what we have. So f of minus infinity becomes what? So limit s is tending to 0. So s into f of s. So this is the final value of the signal. The final value of the signal can be obtained from the Laplace transform of f of t. So using this expression, you just remember this expression to find the final value of the signal, that is f of infinity. So you just consider the limit s tending is 0, s into f of s. So this is about the final value of theorem Once again I will repeat the final value theorem. So the final value theorem states that the final value of the signal can be obtained from the Laplace transform of the signal f of s using this expression limit s is tending to 0 s into f of s. So if you take this expression you can get the final value of the signal. So if you want to prove the final value of the signal, this signal must satisfy these two important conditions. One condition is the signal must be defined for t is greater than 0 and its value is 0 for t less than 0. And if you calculate the poles of this function, the poles must always lie on the left half of the s plane. So in that case only we are going to find the final value of the signal. So how can you prove this one? To prove this one, we already know the Laplace transform of the first order derivative of the signal. So this is your input and this is your output. So how can we get the output? So using the integral transformation. So this is your input. So this is your integral kernel expression. So using this integral operation, we are going to find the output. So this is the Laplace transform of the first order derivative of the signal. So using this expression, I just apply limit s is tending to 0 on both sides so that I can get the f of infinity. So which is the required value of the signal at t equal to infinity. So we are going to find the f of infinity using the limit s is tending to 0 s into f of s. So this is about the final value theorem and the initial value theorem. These two theorems are very important theorems. So one should remember the expressions, how we are going to calculate the initial value theorem and the initial value and final value of the signal. So because of these if you remember these we can easily solve the problems based on the initial value and final value theorems. So this is all about this class. See you in the next class.